whatever we put out there, our own unique flavor. I'm just going to look at everyone with this one. Let's not worry about feeling validated what people think, because someone out there is going to dig that weird shit that you like. Bees and coffee. Someone else is going to love that, Meghana. Someone else is going to love donuts, Lucy. Someone else is going to love whiskey, Drew. Someone else is going to love cannabis and coffee, Jeremy. Someone else is going to love bicycle art as much as you do, Greg. Someone else is going to love your script lettering about mental health, Vinny. Someone else is going to love how you speak towards marginalized people because they feel seen, Brian. So there's somebody out there that's going to love that weird, unique flavor that you inject into this world, each and every one of us. Someone out there is going to love my weird combination of pizza and cats in outer space, which I thought it was just for me. Nobody was fucking weird enough to like that shit. So we don't need to worry about that. Just know someone out there in this massive floating, rotating rock in space, someone out there is going to vibe to your shit. But you have to vibe to it first in order to attract that type of person, that perfect person. It's not about reaching the masses. It's about reaching that one person, even if it's that lost version of yourself. The Side Hustler's Perspective podcast is fuel for your mind and creative grind. Each week, we break down the art of healthy hustling, getting out of your own way, and growing your creative business. All right, folks, let's kick off part one, group one of the Side Hustlers Student Spotlight Special. We're kicking this episode off with Brian today. Brian, the floor is yours. Introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about you, and let's just dive in, man.
Thank you, Scotty. Hello, world. First of all, my name is Brayan Montes. I create and sell colorfully bold designs and illustrations that uplift marginalized voices under the name Yams. My platform gives me a chance to share my experiences as an immigrant, a queer person, and a person of color. My work and message center around social justice, culture, and equity for communities and organizers. Through visual storytelling, I provide a form of healing, escape, and business solutions for marginalized identities.
Right on, man. Sounds polished and professional.
Thank you.
So what's on your mind, man? What do you want to talk about today?
Oh, cool. So I do have a couple things. I want to start with accountability first, because I got an email system set up. I got a newsletter on, and I think I'm going to try to make it a goal eventually to outsource that, because yes, I'm going to eventually outsource it.
And for those listening in, if you catch this, we eliminate all words of try, hope, I wish. It's all just like actionable. So good job.
Thank you. Mostly because I did not enjoy doing it, and it's just a big pain in the butt. So hopefully maybe that will change down the road, but that's something that would be cool to outsource. And I've been thinking about outsourcing stuff too. I do want to talk about pricing a little bit, because a lot of questions have come up in the past couple of weeks. I've been really good about, my first priority is banging out really good work that speaks to me and my audience, and illustrating a lot of cool stuff. So that's like priority number one. Priority number two is getting the mailing list, growing the network in that capacity. But now twice, two brands have reached out, or people or things have reached out and want to either like buy a design or want to license something, or they want me to create something. And now I'm in this weird place, because for a really long time, I've been doing mostly branding work, and I'm really good about like pricing branding work and figuring out how long that's going to take. But now illustration work is like a new, pricing illustration work is a new concept for me, because in my mind, I have a pretty solid hourly rate. But the question I would throw at you, are they paying for me to make something and then use it? Or are they paying me to make it and then buy the illustration from me to use it?
So two things. One, we're in a hell yes season of going all in. And the more we go all in a specific lane of focusing on building your brand, creating work that makes impact, gauging what type of things that your audience wants that can turn into products, and building your email and blogging, the more deeper you go in this lane, the more you're going to be tested with opportunities in the lane that you've always kind of wanted, but now they're really you're being tested. So this is a good thing. And I will say, if they're not hell yeses, just know that this isn't going to be the only opportunities if it doesn't work this season, which I know, but I think for other people listening, they need to know how intentional you are going in this season, because you're doing all the things, but now we're really going hard in the lane of personal brand, creating a personal brand, finding your voice, creating a ton of value and impact for the marginal voices, and going all in on building your audience through blogs and email, because that's going to help you build like, know, and trust, yada, 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 yada. So client work is something you've put a hold on, but you're now going to get challenged with stuff. So I'm going to talk about two things here now that I got that out of the way. So first off, there's 2 killer episodes that have been on within this year. I'm going to share my screen so other people can see them. Just fly through it real quick. 2 episodes this year that came out. Shout out to these ladies, Katie and Alana Lumiere. This is all about the basics of licensing, outreach, and creative marketing. And then this is the killer one. I really want you to listen. Wow, that looks pixelated. But Maggie Interios, homegirl, little Maggie, on pricing your illustration work. And this is what I'm going to reference, what I learned from her. And Lucy, shout out to Lucy of applying this summer too. But when you're getting hit up for license-based illustration work, this is how Maggie operates. And Maggie, if you ever listen, correct me, come talk to my students, but she charges them for 2 separate things. She has her illustration fee. So it's like, I think a minimum of 2,000 or 3,000 last we talked. So they're paying just to have access to her illustration skills. They're paying their illustration fee. And then she talks about the licensing part. Now it's the usage rights. Do they want buyout? Are they trying to get 2 years or 3 years or something like that? So then you're working out the value-based pricing agreement in terms of usage. And she goes so deep on this. She talks about becoming a commercial illustrator, commuting and pricing your work based on value, and the negotiation part, determining usage right, and nurturing long-term client relationships and more. So what kind of follow-up questions do you have with that? Because that would be the first thing. I'd be like, okay, you have here's my rates of strictly just my illustration fee. And then you would work out the usage right part.
All right. What I'm starting to realize is maybe in this season right now, it's not, I just wanted to see where your head was at, but in this season, maybe it's not, I'm not ready to start doing those kinds of things. Because,
but the fact you're getting these are just a sign and omen that whatever you want in the freelance world is still always going to be there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I still need to make money. Right. And one thing that I've been really thinking about is just the way the economy is going right now. Like a lot of prices are going up. Personally, my family is going to have to pay a significant amount of rent more because our landlord has increased it. And that's gotten me to a point where I got really scared about what I'm doing, how I'm pricing things, or who I'm serving. And that's why I think these opportunities that have come my way have been good, because they're telling me people want to see my work. But at the same time, I'm going to need to start doing something to either take something on. Maybe I'll give you a small example. I took on, I think I told you about, I'm designing some Aztec skulls for a chocolate brand that's down the street, literally. But part of me was I'm doing this and I'm charging them an hourly rate to design these. But at the end of the day, they're going to get them and use them for a pretty long time. And I'm adding a lot of value to that brand, right? And so it doesn't sit right with me as much to only pay for the amount of time that they're using me, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's kind of like they're just using me for my hands, basically, to do what they are looking for me to do.
You're a technician for them right now, when really you should be using value-based pricing as well as licensing in this scenario.
Right.
Especially if they're going to be profiting off what you do, unless they do a buyout, which is going to be a lot more.
Yeah, I actually did listen to that episode, and I think she said 300%, 300% of the total cost of creation. And it was interesting because I was calculating that in my head for what I'm doing right now. And it's it feels wrong to charge a small business that amount of money, but it is a lot of value that I'm providing.
True. But it's also different from a small business versus oh my God, Ghirardelli hitting you up with a chocolate brand and you giving them a buyout. So there is a lot of difference of small player versus big player. But she also said, instead of always trying to position people to do the buyout, while that's great in the short term, she's been making the most money, basically passive income for long term, when people want to re-up their package design or what they've done with her. Maybe it's a minor change or something like that. So you can also have increased rates as well. Maybe they just want the a Procreate file, but if they want to vectorize what you do and you primarily draw on something like Procreate, you don't work vector, then it's another additional charge just to have you digitize it. So that's another thing to have in mind. So you're realizing already that you're leaving money on the table. Yeah. This is all a learning experience.
Yeah.
And also during the season, we've talked on the side that there's so many other ways to hustle to make a buck outside of just your creativity. And I put in episode 184 if people want to go back to that in the show notes. But my biggest thing is I don't want someone operating out of scarcity and lack. Have you considered asking for a raise at your day job? Because I want to tell everybody to ask for a raise, because that normal 1% to 3% you get each year and the economy's consumer price index, like a rate of inflation is like beyond 6%. So that 1% to 3% you're making a raise, you're actually losing money each year. So I want to encourage all of you, especially all of you listening, to get bold and go ask for a raise. Has that crossed your mind at all, or where's that at potentially?
So yes, because I would consider my day job to be like designing for all these retainer clients that I have. And we have a set like hourly rate that was determined at the beginning of the year. But now, since everything is like just going so like high, I was probably gonna reach out next week just to see if we could templatize like an email to send out about like increasing that.
Hit me up, because I'll hit you up with, you'll sound like a smart freaking whiz. It'd be like, hey, the CPI index is actually increasing up. It's past like 6% this year, the rate of inflation. So the 1% to 3%, I'm actually losing money. And with the cost of everything, supply chains, yada, yada, like, and as well as what are like the top 3 measurable value that you bring to the table? Can you show any type of ROI that you bring? Like, hey, this project alone for this client increased revenue X amount. Like, can you find some hard numbers? This goes to anyone listening, so that would be an action item. Because you could start taking on clients, but what if you got a raise, to help out with things? So that's just one area. And I'm obviously not everybody's going to get that right away, but everybody owes it to themselves to ask. The answer is always no, if you never ask. Cool. What else you got?
Well, that was my main thing I wanted to focus on. So I want to get that at the beginning. I did want to come back to something that you said last week in our check-in, is I have a really hard time looking at the big picture, right? And I think we all do. It's something like we're also stuck in it. So I would like to hear from you. First of all, how do you get out of that? Like, how do you look at the progress that you've made? Because you said on Monday, and I noted you said, I've seen like a significant change from you. And I'm sitting here like, sir, I have not. And I've only, I haven't, like, sir. I feel like I'm trying harder and like things are happening, good things are happening, but I'm still like trying to catch my breath and like trying to like keep going. Maybe it's because I'm so forward looking that I don't look behind me. Right. But sometimes I do get stuck in this like one place and I'm like, I have to go to the next thing, or
it's living in the what's next, which I'm guilty of too. So some of the notes I had, things that I've noticed about you and your growth so far within the first 5 weeks of us recording, as well as we worked early in the summer because you locked in a spot super early. So shout out to that. If someone's interested, this is the growth we can have. But your focus and your intention behind what you've been doing the first quarter is what I've noticed the most. Being able to go all in for a season, even though there's so many different things you can be doing. And I also want to commend you on how coachable you've been. Like, we don't have the same conversations each week. Like, we do not. And you take that feedback and you follow it with massive uncomfortable action. And the majority of you're so close to what you're doing right now that you don't see the progress. Hence, this is why you have a coach, because I notice these things. And I'm sure your teammates, your squad, your family, they see it in you as well, but we're all just too close to it. We're our art critics. So what gets me out of it is, one, I track my wins, which I believe you do. I track my wins. So that's a huge tip for anybody who feels like they're not doing enough or always concerned about what next, not appreciate your progress. But also, I'm surrounded by a community. I communicate everything to my wife, who constantly tells me I'm too hard on myself. And I have my own coach, whether it's in the wellness fitness world, as well as my business world, because I need someone on my ass to like have an unbiased outside perspective to call me on my shit, as well as to like keep my head on straight. So those are like what I specifically do. But what are 3 wins you've noticed about yourself so far? You can flex. Mindset wise and hard skills. What are 3 things you've really noticed about yourself that maybe you just haven't acknowledged?
Well, the first one that comes to the top of my head is I'm no longer making tomorrow's post the day before. Like I have 2 weeks lined up to go. No thought, no question. Maybe some reels here and there that like are quick off the fly things.
In the moment, yeah.
In the moment, yeah. Like that's all good. I am starting to think like, okay, I got the Instagram portion down. How do I get like the email newsletter integrated into that calendar? How do I get other forms of communication integrated into that? And then also like, how can I time things correctly for certain like holidays and like events and stuff like that to like coincide to make sure I'm getting the maximum out of that. I don't know if this is one, but I've definitely noticed the amount of viral Instagram posts I've had, or like viral to me, that have had more than 300 likes is crazy. Like before starting this program, I only had one, and now I'm up to like 4 in the past 5 weeks or something like that.
You've really dove deep in an intentional focus season around your secret sauce of who you are, your interests, your passions, your beliefs, your values. And that's, you're showing yourself in your work way more intentionally.
Right. I don't know. The writing? The work. Yeah. Well, the writing. Yeah. Well, similarly, the writing and the art kind of like allow me to like really put my thoughts out there, and they're good stuff. And I like see me reflected in it. I could definitely go back and see a lot of pieces that I've made that aren't really me. Maybe it's just more of like a thought, a situation or something, but I definitely don't see me. But everything I'm putting out into the world right now is me, like wholeheartedly.
If anybody's listening, what are you putting out right now? Is what you're putting out you, or is what you're putting out what you think people want to see?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big check. And that should be the biggest filter, the takeaway from this session of what I see with you and what I want others to see in themselves. Is the biggest filter is it should always pass through to check, like, am I vibing to this? Is this true to me? If not, why the hell am I posting this? Is it for likes, vanity, metrics, trying to chase trends, trying to chase clout? That used to be me. That's the only reason I could speak toward it. And maybe that was you too, but I would say that has been the biggest shift. And I'm big on planting seeds. Like everything you're doing right now is planting a seed for what future Brayan is going to reap the rewards. And so one thing in order to battle that feeling of what's next is to appreciate the now, appreciate the progress by tracking it so you can see measurable growth when you track your wins. But delayed gratification is like a trait that the masses seem to lack because we're trained to have immediate gratification, immediate results. We're sold 10,000 TikTok followers in a month. If you follow this hack, here's 10-second abs. You know, here's how to clean your bathtub without even touching it. You know what I mean? So delayed gratification, you're playing the long game right now. All of this is the long game. And the work you're doing now, since we started the summer to where we are today, the work you're doing now and the seeds you're planting, oh my gosh, you may not see it, but since I've been in the game and I've talked to so many people, you're going to have a fucking forest, a meadow, a Garden of Eden just ready to reap, man. And things are just going to explode when you're not expecting it. You're least expecting it. And the deeper you go into this season of going all out, you're going to be tested with these opportunities. But the deeper you go, the more focus you go, the more traction you're going to get, the more results, the more viral within your realm of how it is to you, it's going to go. So I just know I really, really appreciate you, man, and locking in that first spot and getting a chance to work with you and the support you showed me over the years.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good stuff. Way to start us off.
Yeah.
Brayan, folks, Yams. Introduce yourself to Yams world when you get a chance. Way to kick it off, man. Damn, that was a great start. All right, Drew.
Thank you, Scotty.
Yo, what's up, everyone? I'm Drew Ordway. I run Impossibly Awesome Design Company. I create clean and colorful and distinct branding to help my clients create a killer first impression that's memorable and creates trust. I'm passionate about creating that critical match between their quality offerings and their outward appearance.
You've been rocking that elevator pitch too behind the scenes, man. Draft 72 for you.
Yeah, right.
Sounding good, man. Sounding good. In a year from now, all of you are going to be saying something different because you're more dialed in. What's on your plate?
I thought it would be a good opportunity to discuss on your recent podcast episode with Matt Dawson and Jason Craig and Grizzly Wheeler. They responded to a question that I had, and it was sort of like a long discussion that they had. So I thought it might be fun to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, bring some context. Have at it.
The question that I had asked was, what do you do when like your deadline is looming and you're not feeling creative, or like you're in a position where you've got to finish something, but just the ideas are not flowing like you want them to. I guess the question sort of stems from like, I'm fairly new to graphic design as a career. So I feel like in quote unquote like normal jobs or other jobs, a lot of it is just like, you just need the time to get the job done. And it's sort of not always like a mental stress to like, it's just doing the work. You just need the time to do it. It's just something that needs to get done, not something that you need to come up with some sort of a unique, creative, genius idea as like part of the job. So the idea of like, creating branding and logos, where a lot of it is, needing that killer, edgy idea that just sort of is something really smart that encapsulates what you're going for. It's sort of a step beyond just getting, manual labor, getting the job done. And so I guess that brings a whole new aspect into a job that I don't have a ton of experience with. So I guess I'm just trying to just wrap my head around that. I think Grizzly had said like, just show up and do the work, no complaining. And I wasn't trying to say that I would not, just going to quit and not do the work, but
they were missing all the context of you are being a self-trained graphic designer who's never worked a trained graphic design job or went to school for graphic design. You're a self-starter with this. And first, let me show this real quick. So people are just like, oh my God, this dude can't even unite two shapes. But first, I forgot to share Yam's World's work. Want to give him a shout out real quick. And then we're going to flip over to yours. Can y'all see my screen? Cool. Yeah. I want to make sure he gets some love real quick for those watching the YouTube video of this. All right. Now over to yours, Mr. Impossible. Okay. So there was a lot of context missing within your thing. They don't know that. They could have just thought like, hey, this dude's been in the game for 5 years at a corporate cubicle and just stuck of like, how do you show up, be creative last minute on a deadline? Just show up and do the work. Grizzly's a no bullshit, right to the point kind of guy. Yeah, he's a tough love. Well, other people are somewhere different. That's why I think it's a great dynamic of it. But this isn't just I'm figuring things out and learning how to unite a path with shape builders and stuff and Illustrator right now. Like you clearly have some chops and are meant to be a designer in this game. So what's your like main question about it?
I guess I just wanted to sort of, talk about what I sort of got out of their conversation.
How about instead of this and talking about their conversation, force people have to look back onto it. What if we pivoted and said, what you've learned from that and what you've been applying so far?
Yeah.
So far, like what are the things you've been doing so you're not running to a deadline, having to be creative so far? Because you've been owning that within your own personal work as well as in your client work that you've been finishing. So let's talk about what you've learned and what you're applying so other people can get some tips from it through your lens.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess like the main thing that I've learned is it's all about sort of setting your schedule and being really intentional about it. So you can set yourself up so that you are not going to end up in that situation where it's like the day before something's due and you haven't had that idea yet. Like if you got to that point, I think as Matt had said, like you did something wrong initially. And I think that was like a real breakthrough thought that hadn't even really occurred to me before. So like based on that, and then another thing I saw today, James Kaufman posted something, answer to a question where he's like, assume you're going to have your creative block. And like, if you think it's going to take you 2 weeks, like tell the client it'll be 3 weeks, like put like a 50% bumper in there, assuming you're going to have a problem or a creative block. So
that's the number one takeaway. If you're in a services, client relation businesses, the best thing you can do to keep clients just loving you, give that powerful word of mouth where you don't need to go market yourself all the time. Under promise, over deliver. That's, to summarize what he's saying, that is the number one thing anybody doing freelance coaching, whatever it is, under promise, over deliver, or even to your audience. So that, always remember that one.
Yeah.
Say if you know you can get it to them on Monday, tell them you get it to a Friday, drop it to them Wednesday, and they will be in love with you.
Yeah, that's great advice. And yeah, so I definitely need to do a better job and starting to do a better job of giving myself more time to do stuff and starting it as soon as I can. I found that even just like, if I get a new project, just like opening up an Illustrator file and naming it and saving it, like it makes you feel like you got started a little bit. And that sort of takes the edge off of like a giant project to start looming over you, because it feels like you started it a little bit. So that's kind of powerful. But yeah, it's like, I think the other part of it is like, I'm still learning how long it takes me to do things. So I think the more I practice and get better at figuring out how long it'll take me to do things, the better estimates I can give for the clients for how long.
What steps are you taking right now during this program to figure out how long something takes?
So I started tracking my time, which I wasn't doing before. So that's been really helpful. And I think the more projects I finish and can look at the data for the time, the better I'll be at estimating in the future. So if something comes in that's, I think, is similar to something I did, I can look up how long that specific project took in the past, or even average 2 or 3 together and get a good estimate. So that's going to be really helpful for me.
What's been like the biggest takeaway you've learned from tracking your time right now? What's it revealed?
That things take longer than I think they will is mainly what I've learned. But at the same time, like I feel like when I think I have only 15 minutes to work on something, 20 minutes to work on something, my gut is like, oh, that's not enough time to do anything. But I feel like I can still make surprising progress in that short time. So I've got a bunch of time tracked little sessions where they're pretty short, but I know that I made progress. So it's using up, because things take a little longer than I think they were, I need to use those little 15, 20-minute sessions to make a little bit of progress. And they do definitely add up.
And something I'm gauging from you is you go into these short little blocks now, you know what you're going to work on. You're not guessing it like you probably were at the beginning of the summer before we started working together.
Yeah. I definitely
You're an assassin now. I can already see it all over you.
Yeah, thanks. I know what I need to work on next, and I know the next time of the day or the next day that I'm going to work on it. So that's been going really well. I feel like to sort of transition to a similar issue I'm having is I feel like I make progress each week, but I feel like I didn't expend so much energy. Like I didn't feel like I left everything on the table. I feel like there's days I could have woken up earlier. I feel like there's days I could have pushed through later at night. And even though I made substantial progress, I still feel like I could have done more. I'm not so exhausted that I'm like, dragging. So
I don't think the goal is to be exhausted. I played that game. I'm self-care. This is the art of healthy hustling for a reason, man. And it's noticing where your blind spots are, but like, I want you to hit your head on your pillow at a decent time every night, feeling like, damn, I showed up and knocked out that one big thing that was on my to-do list. Like to me, if we can start mastering the art form of like, yo, this is the long game, slow and steady grind. Imagine we're going to be a year or two from now with the shit I'm applying during the program. And I go to bed realizing like, yo, this was a productive ass day. If I hit this is my, what's the word I'm looking for? Standard. This is my benchmark, minimum of one big thing a day. If I do that, man, that was a success. There's days I go to bed being like, damn, I left everything on the table, but did I get my one big thing done today? Okay, today's a success. But there's a lot of things out of our control too. Like you're a dad. You still have a day job. You still have a lot of things that you have to be flexible around. But I think you're training yourself now that with your assassin-like skills, like, dude, I can, as long as I get this one big thing a day, I showed up. That's the mindset I want to drill in everyone's head because you're playing the long game here.
Yeah, definitely.
You're like Brian worrying about the next, but Scotty's worried about the next too.
I think part of it is like, because I'm still getting my head around estimating correctly. Like, for example, like I had off work from my day job yesterday. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try to get two big things done yesterday. And I spent most of the day on one thing. So it's, even though I was working and making progress and knocking one thing out, I still feel like I didn't do what I wanted to, because I didn't get to that second thing.
So one, under promise and over deliver yourself too. You know, don't go into it, I'm going to try and hope and wish. Be like, hey, I'm going to go in here today. I'm going to knock out this one big thing. I know it's probably going to chew up majority of my time, or I realized from the past that this type of work will chew up my main day. And then maybe that second task, that A2 task, instead of knocking it completely out, maybe that task is like, I got 10% started on that as your next task. Like, that's what I'll do. Like, I need to knock out today, for example, I needed to write episode, the one that comes out after this, 234. I need to write that. That's a big task. Write it, record it, send it to Anya. And it would be a huge win, another massive win, a success, if I got started on the second one and got at least 10% started with just an outline. That would be a win. Versus like, I need to knock out 2 Goliaths with a single stone.
Yeah, I mean, so yesterday, like, I got 10% started on the second one. So I guess I was just not looking at that as a win. I was looking at as a failure.
It's a mindset shift. You got your big ass task done, probably felt on top of the world. And then you gave yourself unrealistic expectations because you overpromised and underdelivered to yourself. And then even though you got 10% started, you felt like a failure, when really, like, dude, you knocked out your first A1 task and you got a good start on your second one. In my world, like, whoa, dude, you're winning. You're doing way more than 99% of the population who are just twiddling their thumbs, endlessly scrolling on Instagram, watching silly cat videos on YouTube, watching horror videos every day on Shudder, like I am during October, just wasting time. What's wrong with these people? So what we're doing during this is reframing how we see things, appreciating the progress, slow and steady. And I will note some things about you. You hit me up on your check-in feeling like you're behind. You don't feel like you're making big progress right now in comparison to potentially what other people are doing, because they're maybe posting more. And granted, someone may be posting more, but you had prior commitments to certain things. And professionals knock shit out. When they commit to something, they knock it out. And what I've noticed about you, you may feel behind, but behind the scenes, you're rocking the most important part of the first quarter of the program. And that's the internal work, more specifically with you, the hard skills, the habits, and the mindset in terms of learning how to prioritize, learning how to plan your attack the night before, the time management, knowing what to work on and when you're going to work on it, the project management. What is my top task for the day? What's the next top task? Even if I'm just getting started, giving yourself credit and giving yourself a break. We're working on that one, but creating boundaries as well as the presentation of your client work. These are all massive wins I've seen that you're just too close to. But as I say them, would you agree, especially with the work we've been doing since June, dude? Like, what's the top 3 things you feel like you've grown since we started working in June?
In addition to the couple of things you just mentioned, I think a big thing was learning to say no to stuff that wasn't super exciting to me. So
boundaries.
Yeah. So I turned down two client jobs since we started this program that were not going to give me any upside and were just going to give me a lot of stress. And so I'm really glad.
Scarcity mindset was telling you like, oh, what about the experience? And I'm like, what about the experience of hiring yourself for a season?
Yeah. So that was great too. Like, I now feel, after having done that just like 2 times, I now feel like comfortable, like saying no to stuff just because it's not something that's going to provide me the benefit versus what it's going to take from me, just like extra time and worrying about it and thinking about it in the back of my head. So that's much more valuable than whatever those
becomes a game too. You feel more empowered after saying no and sticking to your guns. Give me 2 more.
Yeah.
Flex a little bit.
Yeah. So I just had a client that I'm working on their logo now, and I sent them round one, and they came back with a couple changes they wanted. And they were like, "Oh, by the way, here's info for a business card. So just like, work on that too." And I was like, whoa. Like our contract, I had a contract, which comes from my sort of day job background, but I had a contract to make a logo. I didn't have a contract to do a logo and a business card. So I said,
scope creep.
If you want a business card, that's going to cost extra because that's outside the scope of our contract. So it felt good to stick up to, what we had agreed on and say, hey, that's not what we agreed we were going to do. And, if you want to do that, you gotta pay extra. So that felt really good. And, so that's saying no to things, setting deadlines has been really helpful. Like, even if a client doesn't, like, they're like, oh, I have no rush, I don't need this by a certain day, like still getting them to give me a deadline or assigning a deadline for them has been super helpful, so that I have like something pushing me to get it done and not just push it off. Yeah.
So looking back, do you feel like you're a completely different person than in June?
Yeah, I definitely feel and see the progress. I feel like I'm like, all these things are starting to become habits, and they're only going to get stronger from here, but I can definitely see the progress for sure.
So give yourself a damn break. Acknowledge the wins, man. That was the whole point of this one, to give you some clout, give you some respect, and because it's due, some kudos. What you're doing right now, you're setting the foundation for yourself, slaying it years to come, whether that is junior and senior designer or just doing your own thing full-time freelance, because it's going to come. The demand will come, especially when you finally get this other stuff off your plate. Like, you even making time to like knock out these tasks that you've committed to other people and still find time to fit in here and there your own dream work, like that says a lot. And it's only going to just blast off even more all the stuff you learned in the first 4 weeks. Now that you apply it to hiring yourself for the true work you want to be known for, oh man, it's going to be fireworks, dude.
Yeah.
Again, planting seeds. You're planting a freaking garden as well, like Brian and everyone else, that you will reap.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you too. All right. Next up, got Jeremiah.
Hey, my name's Jeremy Piske. I am a graphic designer. I create simple yet effective logos and identities for small businesses and startups who need guidance to bring their company to life. I'm at my best helping my clients confidently blend their personalities and passions into their brand to bring out their best work.
Smooth. You rehearsed that a couple times, huh?
I've been rehearsing it. Yeah.
Good. It sounds good, man. So what's on your mind? What's on your plate?
So, I messaged you during the check-in. This is going to be kind of a busy week for me. I'm not really getting a day off this week. And working my current job and starting my new job tomorrow. So I guess I'm just worried about.
Shout out to, this is your first legit design-based job, right?
I think so. Yeah. Because my
right.
first one was like this webmaster position, but I didn't get to do anything. So
okay. Well then, yes, this is your first position getting to be your full creative self, or at least start discovering it within a structured atmosphere while hiring yourself on the side. So I'm just giving you a round of applause so we can all celebrate. But what else is on your mind? Because I know through your check-in, we were kind of going deep on that, on what you were kind of struggling with. I don't know if that's on your mind or if you have something else.
They kind of coincide, but I think what I realized doing our little breakout session before this call is that it was more of a mindset issue where I'm kind of a nervous person. Just tend to be that way.
Put some context around it for people who have no idea what you talked about in your check-in, because this is real shit that everybody struggles with, but people don't want to be public about it.
For sure. So, starting this, I'm working my current job right now just to cover the bases because they just don't have enough people. And I'm starting my new job, so I'm going to be working with no breaks for the next week and a half. And I was worried that I'm not going to be able to meet my challenges of posting every 3 days during the week. Because I got busy and I wasn't really able to start planning ahead. So I guess.
You're feeling behind, even though you told me how you were crushing all your client work.
Yep. So I'm just behind.
it's sounding like Drew over here, how he's feeling behind because he's not posting all of his personal work, but he's crushing all this other stuff behind the scenes.
Right.
Like internal growth.
Yeah. So, and I think that's what I'm realizing listening to Drew and Brian talk before me is that we're grinding, and we need to think of it as like an exercise. Like maybe we're putting in our 85% every day. It doesn't feel like we're improving or making progress, but because it's still hard to do, but you're gaining progress every 85%. So like, I mean, I can tell just from the very initial post from when we started to yesterday, like how much changes. Like,
massively changed. I have my little list of takeaways, but we'll keep writing this. If for those watching, I'm showing your work, like just the transformation of what you're doing. You're positioning yourself with credibility right now versus like, I'm going to post every couple of seasons, every new full moon, I'll maybe start posting again.
Yeah.
But talk about that. You were feeling behind, nervous, everything else going on.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about that, and what's the game plan? I hadn't seen a response back from you yet, but I know you've been busy juggling everything.
Yeah, I've been. So it's just more context for everyone else. I'm currently working at a go-kart track, and we put in an order for 200 barriers, and we're getting all those barriers these days. So we've been destroying the track, taking stuff out, total reconstruction. Like we normally aren't even open on Tuesdays, but it was all hands on deck. So, just been busy. So, just like feeling behind that I haven't been scheduling things and planning things. I think I've lost the point here.
No, but one, you knocked out a bunch of client work. Two, you posted yesterday. You still showed up. And I want to say, like, you're not a failure when life is too crazy and you're early on in your side hustle pursuits, trying to find your groove, building processes, systems, routines, new habits, and life just hits you with curveballs. And you're not in the position where you've learned how to truly batch and everything. Like, you're not a failure if life kicks you in the nuts for a couple days or a week. Vinny, his parents came in and it totally rocked his world of his availability and his time and his mindset. And I'm like, yo, take a night off, self-care, healthy hustle. You're not a failure as if you don't hit those deadlines. Eventually, the goal is to grow, figure out your blind spots, learn how to work ahead, have a plan set, have things scheduled. But in the beginning, when you're figuring your shit out, that's fine. Later, if you've been doing this for a couple of years and you're not showing up and hitting your own self-initiated deadlines, think about how that would reflect if you're at work not hitting deadlines. And imagine if you were doing your thing full-time and not hitting deadlines. But in the beginning, give yourself some grace, man. For sure. Like, what you're doing is radically different, as well as juggling a big change in your life. Give yourself a break. And I even told you, like, hey, if you need to take a week off to just get this transition done, get right. Come back next week. You got one post in art. If you got other ones you can make quickly, that's fine. You can do that, but don't beat yourself up as you're making a huge change in your life right now.
Yeah. And even during the breakout session, Brian suggested that I take a post just to celebrate the new job. Maybe put a little bit of a face behind the brand.
100%. I love that idea.
Yeah. And then I instead of, trying to reframe it as taking a break, just like, just kind of letting life change and putting a change to the routine instead of putting it in my mindset that I'm taking a break. And, just trying to take this next 2 weeks or however long it's going to be as like a stress test, just like, cause this is like the hard chunk. If I can get past this, then I can totally make it.
Facts.
Yep. It's just like, when you go to the gym and you just max out your weight just to get that stretch out those muscles, get them, pumped up, ready to go. And then, next few weeks, you just take it a little bit lighter.
So what's the game plan right now? How are you going to navigate this? I, for one, didn't want you to have like the pressure, but if you're able to show up and work through it, I'm all for it. But also I'm not going to be like, hey, you suck and you're failing the program, because this is how do we navigate and build our creative dream outside of a day job and life responsibilities. That's the true cost of this. So I just don't want anybody to ever feel like, and break I don't want to break to sound like, hey, I need to just step away. What I better would say is take a pause real quick, because there's other shit that's way more important, like paying your bills and your mental health. This isn't going anywhere. It's the bigger picture here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I think the game plan is that the game plan is that
there it is.
Yeah. I guess I said think because I'm still kind of noodling it over.
Gotcha.
But I think
my current game plan is
that is to take Wednesday tomorrow and do that celebration post that Brian suggested. Give myself a day to just kind of collect assets, because when we talked last week, we talked about Instagram and like trying to make a reel, and everyone sent me a bunch of really cool ideas. So I really, really have been hungry to try to make one.
Really, I even have a buddy do a reel.
Yeah, I really want to do it. So I even have a buddy who makes music, making me some music like in the examples, because I'm really bad with knowing a song and being like, oh yeah, that's the song that I want to use. And I can hear a song and I lose it forever. I don't know where it went. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of do this as like a kind of collab kind of thing. So I'll be, hitting him up. He'll be sharing my stuff. Neither one of us have a huge following, but I think it'll be fun.
And the rest of the week, what's the game plan currently, knowing things can change?
No, things can change. Just spend like the rest of today, my time off tomorrow, planning for the designs that I do want to post on Instagram, and just taking kind of the social media day rest to just kind of collect myself.
And you had asked me originally, before I asked you to like, let's go deeper on the root of where things are, of anxiety or nervousness, just a lot of shit going on, scared, maybe a little bit of big change.
Yeah.
But you also asked me like, how do you plan ahead, or what was the true question again? How do you like plan ahead with what you're doing so you don't feel behind? Was that something around that?
Something around that. It was more like, if you feel like you're kind of thrown off your groove, how do you get yourself back into rhythm?
Okay. One, I give myself permission to realize I don't have to have it all figured out. Never take 2 L's back to back. We don't take 2 losses back to back. In my training program, if I have an off day, I never have another bad off day if I slip on the nutrition stuff, but also I'm more intentional. So you say you crushed a lot of client work, but you didn't plan your social media posts. So now that you're kind of having a system and realizing like, hey, I like these art boards, I like the mock-ups, I like this. So ahead of time, like say you just finished up whatever your idea, your art boards are going to be, the logos, you can already have like your mock-up stuff ready. Like you can just take a couple more minutes, leverage that time to like turn it into something. You're like, hey, I already know like my system. Here's the 3 things I know I'm going to create. I just finished these mocks. I'm going to send them off. At least I'm going to get these set up where I can come back and polish them if needed, or I can knock them out real quick. Or, hey, I just finished this mock-up or this logo design. Let me just turn it into a pattern super quick. I know what's worked for me before. Here's an idea I want to execute. So that's how I would think it'd be like, okay, how can I just allocate another 30 minutes to take those assets I just finished for the client and turn them into the things I already know I'm going to be creating versus creating them one-off. So like that is a big thing that I would work on, and then export them that night, have them ready to go in Instagram as like a saved draft or in Creator Studio or something. Like I have so many saved drafts in Instagram, and I'm still behind right now because I'm just bored of Instagram, but that's how I would operate. But yeah, giving myself a break and then making sure I plan my next day. If I don't plan my attack for the next day, at least the one big thing I'm going to be doing, dude, I'm so lost. I'm so lost each day if I don't have a set plan the night before. Like if I wake up and I'm just like, oh crap, what do I do? And in between things, if I finally get one thing that's important done, and then I'm like, can't remember what the next thing's supposed to be. And then I'll catch myself scrolling, just getting lost or doing something dumb, or like getting in a Facebook hole or watching ESPN on TV or watching a crypto video or just something, getting off task. So I have to plan my attack the night before. Otherwise I feel it, man. I feel it. That's really, really, really hard for me. So also your editorial calendar, that's a big deal for me too. I know you've been working on that. But let's talk about your progress real quick. Some things that I noticed for you. The biggest thing overall that I want to commend you for is the shift you've been making from being a hobbyist on our first discovery call and making that shift as a professional. You know, I'm someone who can help my clients manifest their ideas in a visual, clear, concise manner with your style. And you're still finding your style, as well as being intentional, especially with like life throwing curveballs, stepping up your strategy and your presentation work. Night and day difference than what you were posting before, treating Instagram as a portfolio, which eventually would carry over to your website because we need to exist outside of social media, but making time for things that are important to you while navigating this new transition. So what you're doing right now is not easy, but it will pay off. So with the last couple of minutes that you have, what are 3 wins you've noticed about yourself?
Piggyback off yours. I really do feel like I've stepped up my presentation game, totally leveled that up. And it's not like it was something I was doing before. It was just something I just kind of ignored. I was just thought people wanted to see flat images of the logo. That was it. So,
and who's those people? Your clients, or what do clients actually want to see?
Yeah.
How your work can exist for them and what they want and what they want to share with their customers. So it's a big mindset shift.
Yeah, huge. Definitely planning things, just getting myself organized and knowing what to tackle the next day. It was huge. Because I know I talked about this during one of the breakout sessions, but I have a hard time getting myself to actually sit down and start working on stuff. So I started planning in literal time to just pace around for a couple minutes and collect myself before I actually sit down.
Is that 3? What was the last one?
That was kind of 2 combined.
Okay.
And then 3.
Give me a 3rd one. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I've really loosened up socially, at least online. I've had a very hard time kind of like finding a group of people to really kind of connect with and share stuff with and feel like I can show and get feedback really well. And I feel like getting a group has been pretty awesome.
Definitely. I would say who all on here, I'm going to go to the full group mode, all 8 of your sexy faces. Who's all extroverted? Who's all an introvert? That's what I meant to do.
There, now we're excited.
That's what I was trying to show. I was like, this is bullshit. But no, I'm the one who was wrong. Okay, see, I correct all them and then they correct me. It's all good. But that's something I massively noticed with each and every one of you. Each week, y'all open up just a little bit more. And Jeremy, what have you specifically found of being able to just open up?
Man, just a specific example. I was really struggling on the recent client work logo. I just was just going after iteration, just not liking it. And just jumped into the group and I was like, hey guys, could I just get some feedback real quick? And everyone was able to jump on and give me something to work on to change up the logo. And at the end, I really like how it turned out.
Yeah. Just here back on full screen because you're all on camera again now. And I will say all of you are getting really good. I think in the beginning, it's a little bit weird and uncomfortable to reach out and give your 2 cents when you're in a group of strangers who don't know how they're going to receive your feedback, whatever it is. When someone like me and Brian are just off the cuff, like just talking our ears off all the time, talking everyone's ears off, like it's normal for us. But other people, like, how many of you feel uncomfortable giving feedback in the first couple of weeks to people or even asking for feedback? You know, it's nerve-wracking, right? You don't want to feel dumb. And then someone's asking for feedback and they're feeling like no one cares. But really, it's just a bunch of introverts trying to figure everyone else out and find their groove with stuff. So I want to commend all of you for getting uncomfortable right now with what you're doing, because this isn't easy, just getting thrown into the mix with a bunch of strangers. But hopefully you're all starting to see, like right now, we're in week 5. This will come out like a couple of weeks, but the chemistry, the family, the barriers, the guards are all starting to fall and are starting to get comfortable with each other. And I think the most active people I have in the alumni group are all introverts. The people who are running the show, all introverts. So you're all becoming masters at community building right now, while also kicking out dope work and working on the inner work. So I want to give you all a little moment of shine. So we got Drew in my top left, Jeremy, Greg, Brian, Lucy, Meghana, Vincent, Greg, just so y'all get a little mini shout out. Well, anything else you want to add to the cherry on top, Jeremy?
I don't think so. I just, thanks for the opportunity to talk.
Absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate you. And last but not least, we got Greg J.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, brother? The table is yours. The floor is yours. Everything is yours.
Hey, my name is Greg Jackson. I'm a motion designer on a mission to entertain your brain. My work unleashes the wild and weird ideas that make me laugh out into the universe. And I like to inject a subtle yet serious dose of entertainment and inspiration to anyone who needs to escape from their reality.
And what kind of shirt are you wearing right now?
I got the Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got the Boss Dog on, but I'm sipping from the Lincoln Cup.
Nice.
They're like the non-official sponsor of the podcast. So I saw you rocking it earlier. We had to give them a shout out. Then you got the Draplin, you got the Hellcats. I find myself sometimes when I talk to you and your hot seat time is, I get distracted looking at all the cool shit in your background. Is anybody else always trying to like pinpoint stuff? Yeah. And then I see the Lone Star. I'm like, damn, I could use a beer right now.
Yeah, I used to try to move shit around. Like the Pixar ball back there, I'd move it around every meeting I was at. Give some people to look at.
Super distracting in the best way though. But
I'm gonna start looking for it now.
Yeah. What's on your mind now?
I'd say vulnerability and adversity probably are the big two things on my mind right now, and just kind of needing validation, like for ideas, like I think people wouldn't connect with me, or they would, wouldn't get the joke or whatever I'm saying. So I'm scared to throw it out there and do it, or say it, because it wouldn't like stick or land, or nobody would, it would just go over their heads. And then just kind of I was doing the workbook, and there's the section on there about past experiences, shit you faced and stuff like that, and like that shit almost had me to like fucking tears, like filling
the
that
secret
out.
sauce.
Yeah,
part one of your stories and your backstory and your experiences.
Yeah.
Speak a little more towards that if you're comfortable.
Yeah. So I mean, like I'm mixed, black and white. So there's that whole, back then, so it's not as common as it is now, dealing with that shit. And then, I grew up kind of like in a poor neighborhood, like people moved out. It became a crack house, like across the street next door. And then, we got kicked out of our house.
Same.
Lived in a trailer park, and then, I went to a predominantly like all black and brown school. And then we moved to, like a predominantly white neighborhood in town. So it was like a huge culture shift, I went from saying like, fool and dog to like, dude, stuff like that. It was just a huge, huge shift for me, doing that. And I like thinking back, like I was pretty aggressive, like going from that type of scenario to, this white school, and like somebody looks at me, I'm like, what are you looking at? Just, I went to school going through metal detectors, and here there's no metal detectors, anything like that. So I was like, okay, just kind of reliving all that shit, as I'm typing it out and stuff like that. And, my parents died when I was probably about 8 or 9. So, and things weren't that great at home. So it's just like all this shit, and movies like kind of became my escape, my, go-to to escape reality, all the shit I was dealing with. And then, later, skateboarding came into, play, and that became my life. And I was all about that. I would just go and do that for sometimes one in the morning, just out there, to get away from whatever I was dealing with, back at home or, wherever else. So I think a lot of like the whole comedy and like being funny and, all that shit came from all, how I was brought up and raised and all that. And that was sort of my escape. And, that's what I go to. That's what I gravitate towards, because that's what I know, That's what I like. I don't have to deal with any other bullshit. And I think that shows within my work too. Like recently, the whole agency 9 to 5 series I've been doing, that kind of came from like negative shit that I was dealing with when I was working at this one agency. I was there for like 5 years, and it just got like over time, like it just built up the negativity, and to where I couldn't be there anymore. Like I couldn't spend another day there. So I just had to leave. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to try this freelance. I can do that. But I made a huge mistake. I just, put in the 2 weeks left, tried the freelance. I failed. Like I fucking
didn't give yourself a fair shot.
Yeah. Because nobody knew me. Nobody cared who I was.
No demand, probably no savings built up, no body of work.
Exactly.
You didn't plan your escape.
Yeah, I didn't plan an escape. And any work that I did have, I felt like it wasn't good enough because it was all like, corporate agency work. And there was probably maybe 1 or 2 pieces out of the 5 years that I'd been there that I felt were good enough to show. So, I struggled with that and eventually found another job where I currently work now. And, in the process of doing that whole time period, I started, the DBA, I got my licenses and all that, to try to make it legitimate for the side thing that I was doing. But then I talked to you in the discovery call, and that was kind of why, I wanted to do this is, how do I get more clients? How do I do this? But then after that call, I don't know, it just kind of like dawned on me, like, nobody gives a shit about anthem design, or like nobody knows who you are, man. Like you haven't built that up. Like I think it's Simon Sinek who says people don't care what you do, they care why you do. Yep. And I didn't have that. So I was like, well, let me just kind of find my direction and my style, or just do me for a minute here until I get to that point to where people do care, or have some sort of audience or something like that. And so that's what I've just been kind of doing. I've just kind of been letting go and just doing all the crazy, like weird shit or things that I think are funny, are have ideas on, and I'm just making them. Like the whole Reels thing, that kind of, when I was making it, I was like, this is like when I used to make like skate videos and dumb shit with my friends back in high school. Like this is fun. Like I'm having fun doing this. I didn't think it'd be. I thought it was funny, but I didn't think anybody else would, connect with it as much as they did.
Some really big takeaways that you're spitting that I don't even think you realize you're dropping right now. One, your past experiences, the shit that made you weird as a kid, as like James Victory would say, it makes you great today. You're really starting to connect the dots of all the hard things you went through, all the weird shit you liked, how certain events in your past affected you, and how that now plays a role in the work you show today. Like it's a powerful thing when we show ourselves in our work. People aren't just hiring you because you create dope work. Like sometimes maybe that's the case, social proof, whatever. But most of the times these days, like people want to connect with the human on the other side. And you're going all in a season and not stressing out about how do I get clients? How do I monetize what I'm doing when you haven't even like built the audience, the demand. You don't even have your style locked down yet or your voice. But within the last couple of weeks, oh my God, you have rapidly started to find that, which I'll hit my hit list here in a second. But so you're not worried about monetization. You're worried about hiring yourself for a season of purposeful play. And I would want to just blast that out to the universe because so many people are so focused on the external result. How do I get hired? How do I grow a massive audience? How do I slang all this merch? I'm like, you haven't even found yourself in your work yet. Why should anybody give a shit about what you're doing? You don't even know how to flip on the marketing switch. How do you know who your work is for when you don't even know who you are? So that one assignment alone of finding your secret sauce, you're finding yourself and you're showing it through your work. You're struggling to feel validated in potentially with your motion design, your audience building, whatever it is, your freelance. What would make you feel validated is the question I wanted to ask in the breakout, but I want to hog the mic. What would make you feel validated?
I'd say, I don't want to say like likes and, big clients coming to me, because I know that's, as much as that would be cool for that to happen, and as much as I would like that to happen, it's not really what it's about. I think what would validate it for me is the connection with more people who.
If you could get one message, let me rephrase this question. If you got one random message for one person, what would just light you the fuck up if they said this one thing to you about you and what you're doing?
If they felt the same way, or they're going through something similar, or went through something similar, and like that shit just like made their day, or it got them through the day. Like the whole agency series thing. Like if that just got somebody through that day, because I know what that shit's like, and it fucking sucks. That would mean a lot to me.
To me, my days of success, or what I feel most validated, was someone's like, yo, I needed that podcast episode, or like that story you shared. Like I felt that too. Like that's what makes me feel validated. I see a lot of that in you, and trust me, that shit's going to come. And we don't have to worry about putting out our 110% work, especially with you hiring yourself for a season of play. It's consistently showing up, telling the stories like you've been doing, and that shit will come. I 100%, if it hasn't already, like it will. And I want you to like screenshot, share it with all of us so we can all celebrate with you. And let me go through my hit list of things that I've noticed with you too. The big change I've noticed before we land the plane on this call, your ability to truly own a lane, accept that what you were seeking before was based on unrealistic expectations, and realizing like, hey, I'm ready to do the hard work of becoming more of myself, learning more about myself, showing that in my work, how to be consistent, how to lock down your top priority during a season, and how to most importantly carve out that time to execute that shit within that time block. You were lacking on that. You were winging it and guessing it. Most of all of you were guessing it, like in winging shit each day. And look where you're at now. But not only that, your writing's coming along, dude. You're a fantastic writer. Like I told Meghana, I think last week, but your writing's really coming along. You're a great writer. Use those fucking line breaks, and your willingness to experiment and own your reels with your motion graphic lane. And then learning that you made those skate videos in the past, connecting the dots. That is just another lane for you to bring it to the present now, making little clips and reels and having fun with it. So all of this is going to be massive once you develop your process, especially showing your like loops on your reels. Like, dude, that's going to be huge for you. I showed you those examples of people crushing it. So just know you are validated by being here. Every one of you is validated. We don't need to seek external validation. We just need to give ourselves permission to make major fucking waves, carve out our own lane, and do shit on our own terms. And every one of us, whatever we put out there, our own unique flavor. I'm just going to look at everyone with this one. Let's not worry about feeling validated what people think, because someone out there is going to dig that weird shit that you like. Bees and coffee. Someone else is going to love that, Meghana. Someone else is going to love donuts, Lucy. Someone else is going to love whiskey, Drew. Someone else is going to love cannabis and coffee, Jeremy. Someone else is going to love bicycle art as much as you do, Greg. Someone else is going to love your script lettering about mental health, Vinny. Someone else is going to love how you speak towards marginalized people because they feel seen, Brian. So there's somebody out there that's going to love that weird, unique flavor that you inject into this world, each and every one of us. Someone out there is going to love my weird combination of pizza and cats in outer space, which I thought it was just for me. Nobody was fucking weird enough to like that shit. So we don't need to worry about that. Just know someone out there in this massive floating, rotating rock in space, someone out there is going to vibe to your shit. But you have to vibe to it first in order to attract that type of person, that perfect person. It's not about reaching the masses. It's about reaching that one person, even if it's that lost version of yourself. with what you're doing right now. So that one person out there, you're speaking to Greg out there, you're speaking to one person who's struggling at agency life, and you're writing to them, even if it was your past version, someone, it's going to hit someone. And you're speaking to that one person struggling with mental health. Vinny, I'm looking at you, it's going to reach that, even though you're creating for yourself right now. So it's a powerful thing I want to end that with. But Greg, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that? Like, dude, you're crushing. All of you are crushing right now. And you're just too close for you to see it 4 weeks in, but I see it. That's my superpower, is to see that shit in other people. And I need someone else to see it in me. Anything else, brother?
No, that's it, man.
Well, each week also we have someone in the group that I pick to land the plane. And by landing the plane is just giving a little word of wisdom, a word of empowerment and encouragement, so we can finish off tonight and the rest of this week strong and get ready to geared up to go for the next week. So this week, Drew, you are up to land the plane tonight, my friend.
So it's clear that everyone is growing. So I hope everyone can pause and recognize that, then carry on executing your vision and plan. You guys are all killing it. Celebrate the wins while you grind. And some parting advice that's really helped me this year is, if there's something that scares you, that's probably what you should be doing.
Thank you, everyone. This was fantastic. I hope you felt the vibe on this one tonight. Like, that shit was powerful. And I guarantee people out there listening in every little pocket of the planet, somebody got some type of gold today. What you shared was powerful. And I really appreciate you just showing up, being your true, authentic selves. And then just coming up, showing up and being super uncomfortable, being thrown in the fire and just owning it. Y'all crushed it. So much love to you. Have an incredible night. And let's build all this momentum. Okay. Peace. Thanks again for listening. It'd be awesome if you took the time to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and let the comment below so we can connect. Again, if you want to catch a shout out as a future listener of the week, make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes and give it a rating and review.